the only other thing that I wanted to mention is Twitter is another topic. It's a topic for another day. However, for those who want to do Twitter now, Jason has a wonderful plugin that works beautifully. I have used other plugins and they worked sort of. So I was very surprised, not in a negative way, but just because in my experience it was always hard to use. So it worked beautifully and everything worked perfectly. So if you're trying to do Twitter, just get Jason's plugin and do that because it's very functional. It provides you all the primary things that people want to do, and you can go from there and expand upon that as you will.
Yeah, I also want to throw in that this weekend I went through Jason's site and was reading the documentation, and it's very well written. I know that sounds odd to say, but it builds logically and it is very clear. So I was impressed that A, you can write the code to do the thing, and then B, that you could actually put string words together in a sentence to be able to explain it.
Well, thank you both. I appreciate it.
Okay. And regarding one more, how it's called? I forgot the word. Okay, never mind. One more thing regarding to sharing. So I have this plugin that posts messages to Vkontakte social network. It's a Russian Soviet. It's a Russian Facebook. So you have Facebook, we have Vkontakte, and yeah, I have this plugin already made, and I only need to write the documentation and wrap it up, and it will be available on the Corona store, plugin store. And if anyone want to target Russian applications, they must use this sharing plugin.
Yeah, this is excellent because we were talking about this before the show started, and people can submit their plugins now. There'll be free plugins at the moment, but I think this is a great way to expand the value of Corona, and there's a lot of smart people in the community who can do that.
Yeah, I would encourage. You stole my thunder there, Coaches.
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say that if somebody in the audience would take the discussion that I'm going to have today about the Facebook plugin, my rudimentary example of using Facebook to get friends lists and stuff like that, if they wanted to take that and make it more robust and capture all the common things that people want to do and then release it as a plugin, I would totally pay for that. Because this is, for me, one of the most frustrating things to deal with. And I want to point out at this point that this is not because of Corona. It's not even because of Facebook. I was going to say it's because of Facebook. Facebook, yes, they do change their API all the time, but really it's not their fault. What they're trying to do is protect their users from abuses. And so it's the people who abuse the systems, like Facebook and Twitter, that cause these companies to have to change their APIs, which then causes Corona to have to run. And maintaining a library for these things is like a full-time job. So, but Facebook has always been the most frustrating for me because it's not only complicated, but it ventures into areas where I don't have a lot of experience. So, which is sort of like a web magic programming sort of stuff. So, my thought is there somebody out there like Jason or somebody else who is maybe more capable in this arena who could take this code, polish it up, and make it usable? And I would totally pay for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the way Jason's solution was kind of like, hey, here are the tools if you want to get back the raw information, and then from there you can do whatever you want with it. And oh, by the way, if you're not interested in doing that, I've created some convenience methods that will make it a whole lot easier. So I was like, wow, that's some forethought.
That convenience methods, that's genius.
Thanks. I will say though, Facebook. An additional layer of complication, not to heap on them, but they have their own. So if you can access what you want to access using the native show pop-up, just do it because it's going to be so much easier and faster, because once you start using the plugin and you're using the graph library and you have to set up a Facebook app, there is a whole approval process that you have to go through with Facebook. separate from the approval process that Apple or Google has. It's like you said, it's in the service of protecting their users, and I get that. But when you're spending months and months working on a project only to go, oh god, it's more hoops to jump through, and they're not, it's not a rubber stamp type of thing. They really will take you to task and ask you to make changes, and it's an extra layer for sure.
Real work. It is real work. Okay.
If anybody wants to take a look, I posted a link to the chat with my simple helpful library for Facebook.
Okay.
Excellent. Yeah, I grabbed the link and put the link in the show notes.
Okay, so I'm going to close this slide, but yes, there are other things. Instagram, I've successfully done that, but I did that via the social method. You could also theoretically do that with a custom URL scheme. And Google+, I put that as a to be determined. I have successfully shared with Google+, not using the social directly, but I was not willing to talk about it yet because I want to verify my solution still works. So, but there is code. I borrowed some code from somebody else. I made some additional changes, and for a client was able to successfully share with Google+ and to use it as a login methodology.
You know, the interesting thing about Google+ is that for a social network, they have been very tight with the ability to access it, you know, via API. You know, you're making it very hard to share things.
Yeah, all of this stuff is black magic. It really is. It's because it's constantly changing APIs. So, so in a nutshell, not a nutshell, let me find the code. That's not code. And I will show you what we're talking about today. First of all, sorry, it's a little bit hard to read. Under the Corona Geek Hangouts GitHub that I maintain, there will be a folder called Social Media. And in here there will be a folder called Corona Resources, Docs, Offline, and Roaming Gamer Examples. The two important folders are Corona Resources and the Roaming Gamer Examples. Under Resources, Corona Resources, you'll see stuff from blog posts, and the links are provided in the README, and some examples from the actual. So when you download Corona and you get that big zip, the reason it's big is because it comes with a lot of example code, and in there it comes with an email, Facebook using the Facebook plugin, and Twitter using the old style OAuth 1 library. So that's not totally useful, but it's a starting point. But these examples they come with Corona, so I didn't really need to do this, but I wanted to put all of the examples in one place that I've referenced or examined. So, but the more interesting ones for me were Corona Resources from the blog posts, and then solutions for Android that work, and solutions for iOS that work. I've tested all of these. Let's see. So, what we're going to talk to today is what I call advanced Facebook. And I call it advanced because you got to create a Facebook app. There is a folder in here called Basic Email, Facebook, Twitter, not functioning properly. So feel free to look at it, but for some reason I have made a mistake in my code somewhere and it only functions partially on iOS and Android. So just probably better to leave it at this point. It's probably me typing sharing instead of share, or making one of those mistakes that Sergey pointed out to me. So advanced Facebook. Let me get that running.
And while it's doing that, I'll just say that hopefully we'll have enough time for everything today. But if we don't, then we'll just continue the conversation into next week.